What is going on, guys? Welcome to my sports corner. Today I'm going to be going through UFC 254. This is a card I cannot wait for. I'm going to be going through the full main card, looking at each fight, breaking it down, giving my predictions. Yeah, we'll go ahead and get started with a fight that I'm so excited it's finally happened. Fingers crossed that it happens. Magomed Ankalaev, the number 11 ranked light heavyweight contender versus Ion, the Hulk Cutelaba. They can't get COVID again because they both already had it. But yeah, the first time around, this was a horrible stoppage. Hopefully they don't get the same ref. Cutelaba was playing possum, trying to get Ankalaev to play into his game, be the aggressor so he could counter-strike him. Of course, Ankalaev is more of a, counter-striker. He sits back and waits for his opportunity to strike. So Cutelaba, try to fake like he was hurt. Get Ankalaev to come forward, which he did, so he could, counter-strike him and get him to open up a bit more. And yeah, so that ain't going to work again. The ref, fucked it up for him, and that plan has to go out the window. But my prediction for this fight, I'm going to go with Ion Cutelaba. Looking at their records, of course, Ankalaev is 14-1, I want to say. Let me go ahead and check on that. Yeah, Ankalaev is 13-1, I'm sorry, and then Cutelaba is 15-5. Ankalaev, like I said, is the number 11 ranked light heavyweight contender. However, he hasn't fought anybody really. Looking at his record, he's fought Paul Craig, and then Marcin Prachnio. That was probably his most notable name on his resume to this date. I don't know why he's ranked number 11. It might have to do with the fact that he's a Dagestani and the UFC brass seems to love the Dagestanis. But yeah, he is the number 11 ranked light heavyweight. I'm going to be picking Ion Cutelaba. I'm going to go by a second round TKO. Looking at that first fight, Ion Cutelaba, in my eyes, landed the most impactful strike of the whole fight. He hit him with the left hook, I believe it was, in the middle of the pretending like he was hurt, and Ankalaev's, flurry. He snuck in a good hook in there and landed on him. But yeah, moving on up the card, we have Lauren Murphy versus Leah Shakurova. Of course, Lauren Murphy was originally scheduled to fight, I want to say, Cynthia Calvillo. Calvillo obviously ended up pulling out. Lauren Murphy is coming in 13-4. Leah Shakurova is coming in 8-1. This is going to be contested at women's flyweight. Looking at the odds on this fight, Lauren Murphy is going to be a minus 240 favorite. Shakurova is going to be a plus 200. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but prior fight, Magomed Ankalaev is going to be a negative 275 favorite. Cutelaba is going to be the plus 235 underdog. So just wanted to add that in there. But yeah, for this fight, I'm going to go Lauren Murphy. I'm going to go by decision. Women's MMA, they seem to love decisions. But yeah, moving on up the card, we have this, this fight that kind of snuck in there. I'm assuming they wanted to keep the six fight main card. RDA Makhachev ended up falling out. I believe Zabit versus Yair was supposed to be on this card too. So this would have been a banger of a card if it would have went the way that we were looking at it in August, September time frame. But it's still a pretty decent card. Of course, this is a middleweight bout. Malkan versus Phil Hawes. Phil Hawes is a Dana White's Contender Series alum. Malkan making his UFC debut. Malkan is coming in 4-0, 6-1. He fights out of Australia. Prior to this, he fought in Eternal MMA back in 2019. Before that, Wollongong Wars, and then Hex Fighting. And then he had a couple of amateur bouts as well. But yeah, looking at the odds for this fight, we got Hawes coming in minus 265, Malkan coming in plus 225. In this fight, I'm gonna take Phil Hawes. I'm gonna pick him by first round TKO. Looking at his record, he's 8-2, like I said. However, on that Contender Series, he got a nice finish. He hit the Bestayev with a beautiful overhand and finished up with some ground and pound there. So yeah, this is pretty good fight. I'm not sure if it was main card worthy, but that's whatever. And then moving on up, now we're getting into the good fights. Here we got my man Alexander Volkov versus my other man Walt Harris. Of course, Harris is coming off of that stoppage to Alistair Overeem, and you got to feel for the man. His daughter, unfortunate situation with their horrible. I hate to even read about stuff like that. I couldn't even imagine if something like that happened to me. And of course, we got Volkov coming off of the loss to Curtis Blades. He kind of got taken down at will in that fight. I believe Curtis Blades set a new record for most takedowns in the heavyweight division or something like that. But, what I will say is that, Volkov, he made a decent account of himself. I don't want to say a good account because he did, get taken down at will. Didn't really show much takedown defense. But what he did show is that when he did get taken down, he had, good ground defense. Curtis Blades is notorious for, getting opponents down and just smashing them, raining down elbows and, eventually getting stoppages. And, that didn't happen with Volkov. Volkov took him to a decision, albeit a decision that he lost. But yeah, he showed good ground defense in that fight, and it goes without saying that Volkov is one of the best kickboxers in the heavyweight division. He's a huge guy, 6'7", I want to say. He's got a 3-inch reach advantage over Walt Harris, I believe. Volkov has about an 80-inch reach or something like that. Walt Harris has about a 77-inch reach advantage, or not advantage, but reach. Of course, Volkov's 31-8. Walt Harris is 13-8. They have the same amount of losses. However, Volkov's got a lot more fights on his record. Looking at the odds for this fight, they're actually pretty close. Volkov minus 155, Walt Harris plus 135. I don't necessarily agree with those odds. I would say, Volkov should be somewhere around minus 200, maybe a little more than that. But yeah, it's going to go right into my prediction for the fight. I'm going to pick Alexander Volkov. I'm going to pick him by decision. He does have good power. However, with it being a 3-round fight, I don't really see a stoppage. If it was to be a stoppage, it's always possible in the heavyweight division. But I would see Walt Harris as the person more likely to get a stoppage as opposed to Volkov. And of course, Walt Harris, like I said, fought against Overeem in the last time out. He looked good in the first round. He came out there swinging. He clipped Overeem, dropped him, and then he just punched himself out. Hopefully, he learned something from that, and coming into this fight, if he ends up clipping Volkov, hopefully he doesn't completely, go for the kill too crazy. There's a fine line there between, picking your shots, still being aggressive when you have somebody rock versus just going crazy and just, swinging wild. But yeah, in this fight, I'm going to go Volkov by decision. Moving on up to the last two fights. These are the best two fights on the card, obviously, because they're the co-main and the main, but they are by far the best two fights, in my opinion. We have Robert the Reaper Whitaker versus Jared Cannoneer. Middleweight bout, obviously. Whitaker 22-5, Cannoneer 13-4. What do you want to say? This is a title eliminator. Of course, Adesanya was calling out Cannoneer, saying that if he destroys Robert Whitaker, he is going to be fighting Adesanya next. I believe Adesanya said he wanted to get it in before the end of the year. Looking at the odds for this fight, I want to say, Cannoneer is actually the favorite. Minus 120, Whitaker coming back plus 100. I guess I can see it. Cannoneer, as everybody knows, fought at light heavyweight. Nice fight in that middleweight. He pulled out of the last fight. I believe he tore his pec or something, I want to say. And then, of course, Robert Whitaker is coming off of the decision win over Darren Till. Got that bad taste out of his mouth from the loss to Adesanya, the champ. He got KO'd twice in that fight. And then Whitaker came back, had a clear decision over Darren Till. I know Darren Till thought he won the fight. He did drop him. However, Whitaker just outplayed him in my eyes. He was hitting him with the good, like the takedown. And then on the clinch break, he would hit him with the right, good mix up there. But yeah, like I said, he got that bad taste out of his mouth, put on a good performance, won the fight pretty clearly in my eyes. But yeah, what do you want to say? Cannoneer, of course, is coming off of the victory over Jack Hermanson, hit him with a beautiful uppercut, timed it perfectly. Before that, he beat Anderson Silva. Before that, he beat David Branch. What I will say is I believe Cannoneer might be over, I don't want to say overrated, but, they might be overlooking my man Bobby Knuckles a little bit, the biracial angel, They might be overlooking him a little bit. I understand that Cannoneer has looked good at middleweight, but looking at the past, he lost the decision to OSP. He actually got dropped in that fight pretty bad. And then he got KO'd by Dominic Reyes, So he has shown in the past that he does, have I don't want to say a tendency, but he's lost fights in the past. People are thinking like he's unstoppable or whatever coming to this fight, and that's not the case. Neither guy is unstoppable. So let me get that out there. But yeah, my prediction for this fight, I'm gonna be going. I'm gonna pick Robert Whitaker. I'm gonna pick him by second round TKO. I just think he's got more experience. He's definitely gonna be the quicker guy. I think Cannoneer is gonna be the more powerful guy. Obviously, Cannoneer's just a little bigger, I want to say. Cannoneer, is 36. Whitaker's around 28, 29. Cannoneer's definitely the older guy. However, Whitaker's actually, more experienced. I don't know what their amateur records are looking like, but Whitaker definitely does have more fights in the UFC, more fights on his pro record. But yeah, like I said, second round KO, TKO. It's all going to depend on how Whitaker, wants to approach this fight. Cannoneer is going to try and pressure him. And it's going to come down to, if Whitaker wants to just go out there and fight how he did against Adesanya and just wing, wild overhands and hooks, or if he wants to do like calculated blitz, fakes, feints, all that good stuff, keep his distance and eventually get the stoppage. And I'm going to predict him, to do that. He looked good in that Till fight, apart from the one drop that he suffered. But yeah, we'll go ahead and move on to the main event. Khabib, the Eagle Nurmagomedov versus Justin, the Highlight Gaethje. I'm so excited for this fight. This, like I said, should be Khabib's toughest test to date. Gaethje has great wrestling potential, as he's, been saying this whole, coming into this fight, he's been training his whole life for this, and you can't really argue with it, It kind of seems that he was made to beat Khabib. Khabib has fought, I don't want to say, bad wrestlers, but he hasn't fought somebody with wrestling credentials that Gaethje had. Looking at his past two victories, Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor, neither of those guys are really known for wrestling. They're decent wrestlers. They have decent takedown defense. Conor McGregor's got pretty good takedown defense, as well as Dustin Poirier. But, they're not the wrestler that Justin Gaethje is. What do you want to say? Khabib, lost his dad back in July. You gotta feel for the man. We're gonna see, if that lit a fire under his ass, or if, he's gonna be a different fighter out there. But looking at the odds for the fight, Khabib is gonna be a minus 330 favorite. Gaethje plus 270. Can't really argue with those odds there. Nobody's beat Khabib, so I don't really ever see him being the underdog in a fight. I know Khabib has mentioned that he wants to fight GSP next. He's not really, nobody really excites him. He said in the interview that this Poirier versus McGregor fight, he doesn't isn't motivated by either of them. You know what I mean? He's motivated to fight Gaethje. That's why he took the fight. He's motivated to fight GSP. But yeah, so Khabib's saying he's motivated. Gaethje's obviously motivated. But as far as my prediction for this fight, I'm gonna have to go with Khabib. I'm gonna go with the fourth round submission. I believe Gaethje will be able to hang in there for a little while. With him having the wrestling that he does. Because you got to look, McGregor. It took to the fourth round to stop him, and then Poirier took to the third round. But yeah, I just see kind of the same story that happens in every Khabib fight. Khabib's gonna shoot in repeatedly, get him down eventually, and beat him up a little bit, gas him out, kickbox him with a little bit, and then eventually take him down again and sink in a submission. Gaethje, like I said, does have good wrestling, but I believe there's a clear Brazilian jiu-jitsu advantage for Khabib. Of course, Khabib has great wrestling. He's got judo and, like I said, the Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So, it may be hard for Khabib to get Gaethje down, but once he does, I believe there will be a pretty clear advantage in like the submission offense versus the submission defense. And we'll go ahead and look at a couple fights on the prelims that I want to go ahead and point out. Let's see if I can get those open. Stefan Schrute versus Tai Tuabasa. That's a pretty interesting fight. We'll see if Tai Tuabasa can finally get the job done. They kind of sacrifice there. I guess it looks like the Stefan Schrute is the sacrificial lamb to keep Tai Tuabasa on the UFC roster. Of course, Tai Tuabasa had reported that he was cut from the UFC. That didn't happen. However, Stefan Schrute, of course, is coming off of the loss to Ben Rothwell. Rothwell fucking nut shot him, 20 times and ended up getting the TKO over him. Then moving on to another fight, we have Nathaniel Wood versus Casey Kenny. It's another exciting fight. Of course, Casey Kenny's coming off of the beautiful performance over that Mongolian guy. Nathaniel Wood, I don't remember who he fought last. But that's a pretty good fight to watch out for there. Of course, we have. Oh, actually, no, we don't have that anymore. I was going to say Umar Nurmagomedov, but he actually ended up pulling out of that fight. But yeah, go ahead and let me know what your guys' predictions are for this card. I'll go ahead and run through mine once again. I got Ion Cutelaba, second round TKO. Lauren Murphy decision. Phil Hawes, first round KO TKO. Alexander Volkov decision. Robert Whitaker, second round KO TKO. And Khabib, fourth round submission. Drop a like if you agree. Leave a comment down below if you disagree. Let me know what your picks are. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. I might be coming out with some film breakdown later this week. But yeah, I'll see you guys.